She had a table, not a shop, not a store, not even a proper cart. A table, folding legs, a plastic cover in blue and white that she washed every Sunday evening and spread out every Monday morning at 6:45 on the corner of Merchant Street and the avenue that led to the business district. On the table, sweets. The specific sweets of someone who had learned to make them from a grandmother, who had learned from her grandmother, and who had understood that the recipe was not a recipe, but a relationship between ingredients that required attention and patience, and the particular care of someone who was making something for another person rather than for profit. She sold them for £1 each or less. If the person who wanted them seemed to need them and seemed to be counting what they had, she had a system for this. She would say, "Take 2, they're better in pairs, and give 3. She had been on that corner for 2 years, since the morning her aunt had told her, with the specific cold efficiency of someone who had been waiting for the correct legal moment, that the flat was no longer hers, and that she had 2 hours to leave. She had taken what she could carry. She had found a room. She had found the table. She had started on a Monday. The people from the offices walked past her every morning. Some of them bought sweets. Some of them laughed, not cruelly, or not only. The specific laughter of people who have decided that someone is not serious and who find the not serious mildly amusing. She had heard the laughter. She had smiled at the people who laughed, not because she was pretending, because she had decided, in the 2 hours between her aunt's words and leaving the flat for the last time, that she was not going to become smaller than the thing. That had happened to her. On a Tuesday in March, a car stopped. Black. Expensive. The particular car of someone who had significant resources and who had been driven past this corner every morning for months without stopping. The window came down. A man, perhaps 40, dark suit. The specific expression of someone who has been watching something for months and has decided it is time to stop watching. He looked at her table. He looked at her. He looked at the couple beside him, an elderly woman who had stopped to rest on the wall beside her table and to whom she had just given a sweet without being asked. And something happened in his face that had not happened in a very long time. Stay with me, because what he saw in that moment and what he does about it is going to show you something about kindness and what it costs and what it produces when the right person is paying attention. Her name was Sophia Reyes. She was 27 years old and had been, for 2 of those years, the specific kind of person that sudden loss produces when the person inside the loss decides not to be diminished by it. Someone who had lost everything and had found, in the losing, something more essential than what had been lost. She had grown up in the flat on Carver Road. Not a ground flat, the flat of a family that had not had excess and had not minded the not having, because what they had was sufficient and warm and particular. Her parents had died when she was 23. Both of them, her father first, a stroke, the specific sudden cruelty of something that gave no warning. Her mother 8 months later, which the doctors called a secondary infection, and which Sophia understood was the specific grief of someone who had decided the world without her husband was not a world she recognized. She had loved them completely. They had loved her completely. They had left her the flat, or had believed they had left her the flat. The legal reality was more complicated. Her aunt had known this, had waited with the specific patience of someone who had calculated the correct moment, until Sophia was 25 and the estate was settled and the specific legal mechanism that transferred the flat to her aunt rather than to Sophia had become operative. 2 hours. Collect what you can carry. I'm sorry. It's the law. Sophia had collected what she could carry. She had found a room, small, sufficient, on the other side of the city from the flat she had grown up in. She had found the table in a charity shop for £3. She had started on a Monday. The corner of Merchant Street and the avenue was. She had chosen it with the specific attention of someone who understood that location was the thing that could not be changed once committed to, and therefore required getting right. The offices were on the avenue. 3,000 people walked past that corner every morning between 7:30 and 9. Some of them needed something sweet. All of them needed something. She understood this, had understood it from the first day. The specific understanding of someone who paid attention to people, with the genuine interest of someone for whom people were the primary subject. She learned the regulars. Mr. Patterson, who came at 7:40 every morning and always bought the same thing and always said exactly the same 3 words, the usual please, with the particular dignity of someone for whom routine was not habit but intention. Mrs. Jen, who came at 8 and who sometimes had the correct change and sometimes did not, and to whom Sophia always said take 2. They're better in pairs, and gave 3. The boy, perhaps 10, perhaps 11, who came past at 8:15 on school days, and who always slowed and looked at the table, and who she had been giving 1 sweet every morning for months. Free, because he always looked and never asked, and the not asking told her what she needed to know. She smiled at people, not performed, the specific genuine smile of someone for whom people were interesting, and whose interest produced warmth rather than strategy. She smiled at the people who laughed. They stopped laughing eventually. Not all of them. Enough. His name was James Whitfield. He was 41 years old and had been, for 15 of those years, building Whitfield Capital, building it with the specific intensity of someone who had decided early that building was the answer and had applied himself to the answering completely. He was driven past the corner of Merchant Street every morning. He did not usually look at corners. He had looked at this one on the first morning because of something, the specific blue and white table cover, perhaps, or the particular quality of the person behind the table, or the way she was smiling at someone who had just laughed at her. He had continued looking, not every morning, not with the focused attention of someone who had decided to look, with the peripheral attention of someone who was looking at other things and kept finding, at the corner of his vision, this specific table and this specific person. For months, he had noticed the regulars had constructed, for months of passing, a partial picture of what happened at that corner every morning. He had noticed the elderly woman. She came on Tuesdays and Thursdays, walked slowly, the specific pace of someone for whom walking required more attention than it used to, and stopped at the wall beside the table and rested. And Sophia, he had not known her name was Sophia, had given her no name in for months of peripheral attention, always spoke to her, always gave her something, always waited until she had rested sufficiently before she continued. On the Tuesday in March, the elderly woman sat on the wall, and Sophia gave her a sweet and then. And this was the thing that stopped the peripheral and became direct, sat beside her, on the wall, leaving the table unattended, sitting beside an elderly woman she did not know and talking to her, with the specific unhurried attention of someone for whom this was the most important thing currently happening. James Whitfield said, "Stop the car." His driver stopped the car. He bought sweets. Not because he wanted sweets. He had not eaten a sweet since he was perhaps 8 years old, and had no particular desire to resume. Because buying something was the correct way to begin a conversation with someone whose table you had stopped at. She looked up from the conversation with the elderly woman. She assessed him, the specific quick assessment of someone who had learned to assess quickly, and came to the table. "What would you like?" she said. He looked at the table. The sweets were. He looked at them with the attention he usually applied to proposals, and projections varied, not randomly, organized with the particular care of someone who had thought about what went next to what and why. "What do you recommend?" he said. She looked at him. "That depends," she said, "on what you need." He looked at her. "What do most people need?" he said. "Most people," she said, "need something that tastes the way something good tasted when they were young." She picked up one. "This one." "Most people. And the others?" "The others," she said, "are for specific situations." "What situation would you recommend for me?" he said. She looked at him with the assessment. "You've been driving past this corner for months," she said. "Today you stopped. That's a specific situation." He looked at her. "You noticed," he said. "I notice most things," she said. "It's useful." "What did you notice?" he said. "About why I stopped today." She looked at Mrs. Alvarez, the elderly woman, still on the wall, watching them with the particular interest of someone who had been watching things for a long time and recognized something worth watching. "You stopped," Sophia said, "when I sat down." "Yes," he said. "Why did that matter?" she said. He looked at the table. He looked at her. "Because," he said, "you left your table unattended to sit with someone who needed company. And I have been driving past this corner for months, and I have not once seen anyone do that." She looked at him. "People do it all the time," she said. "No," he said. "They don't." He came back on the Wednesday, not with a plan, or not the kind of plan he usually brought to things, with the particular intention of someone who had decided that something was worth returning to, and was returning. He bought sweets. She was talking to the boy, the 10 or 11-year-old, who was eating his free sweet with the focused appreciation of someone for whom this was a significant part of the morning. And she finished the conversation with the boy before she came to the table. "You came back," she said. "Yes," he said. "Why?" she said. "I don't know yet," he said. She looked at him. "That's honest," she said. "I try to be," he said. "Most people," she said, "who drive past this corner in cars like yours know exactly why they do everything." "Yes," he said, "usually." She gave him the sweet she had recommended the day before. He ate it. It tasted, he examined this honestly, like something specific, not generically sweet. The particular taste of something made carefully by someone who understood what they were making. "Your grandmother," he said. She looked at him. "The recipe," he said. "It's not yours originally. You learned it from someone." "My grandmother," she said. Single quotes, "Yes. She taught you well," he said. "She taught me," Sophia said, "that making something for someone is an act of attention. You have to know what the person needs. You can't know what the person needs without paying attention." He looked at the table. "That's a philosophy," he said. "It's a recipe," she said. The philosophy came with it. She told him in pieces, not on one morning, over several, the specific gradual of things that are given when trust is built rather than assumed. The flat dot, the ant, the 2 hours, the table. She told it without performance. The plain fact of what had happened, in the specific language of someone who had processed it and had not become bitter about it, and who was now able to say it clearly, because clarity was more useful than bitterness. He listened. "Your family," he said. "My aunt," she said. "The rest of my family is gone." And she took the flat, he said. "It was legal," Sophia said. "I've understood this. Legal," he said, "is not the same as right." "No," she said, "but right doesn't change what happened. Understanding does." He looked at her. "You've forgiven her," he said. "I've," Sophia said, "put her in the correct place." Which is not forgiveness. It's more like she has the flat. I have the recipe, and I know which one is worth more. He was quiet for a moment. "You're 27 years old," he said. "Yes," she said. "And you've understood something," he said, "that I have not understood at 41. "What?" she said. "That what you make," he said, "outlasts what you lose." She looked at him. "Your grandmother," he said. "Yes," she said. "She's still here," he said. "In every suite." Sophia looked at her table. She looked at him. "Yes," she said. "She is." He did not offer to fix things. This was. He examined this with the honesty he was trying to apply to this specific situation, which was different from the situations he usually applied honesty to. Deliberate. He had understood, from the morning of the satin wall and the unattended table, that Sophia Reyes was not a problem to be solved. He had spent 15 years solving problems. He knew what a problem looked like. She was not one. She was. He was finding the language for this gradually, which was unusual. He usually found language quickly, someone who had made something from what she had, and who had made it well, and who did not require his assistance to continue making it. What she required, or what he hoped she required, was someone who noticed. He noticed. He came every morning. He bought sweets, more than he could eat, which meant Mrs. Park received sweets, and his assistant received sweets, and eventually, because there were limits to how many sweets could be absorbed, by an office, he brought them back to the corner. "You're returning sweets," Sophia said. "On the Thursday of the 3rd week. I bought more than I needed," he said. "Why?" "Because," he said, "buying one felt insufficient for the amount of time I intended to spend at your table." She looked at him. "James," she said, single quotes, "yes. What do you intend," she said, "to do with the time you spend at my table?" He looked at the corner, at the blue and white tablecloth, at the people passing, at Mrs. Alvarez on the wall, at the boy who had just received his morning sweet and was eating it with focused appreciation. "I intend," he said, "to pay attention to the sweets," she said. "To you," he said. She looked at him for a long moment. "That's direct," she said. "I've been told I'm precise," he said. "Is precision the same as directness?" she said. "Not always," he said. "This morning it is." The regulars noticed. Not immediately, but with this specific gradual of people who see the same thing every morning, and who register changes in the same thing with the particular attention of people for whom routine is important. Mr. Patterson noticed first. He mentioned it to Mrs. Chen. Mrs. Chen mentioned it to Mrs. Alvarez. Mrs. Alvarez, who had been on the wall on the morning James had stopped the car, and who had therefore been present at the beginning, said, "I know. What do you think, Mrs. Chen said. "I think, Mrs. Alvarez said, that Sophia has been paying attention to everyone on this corner for 2 years, and that it is very good that someone is paying attention to her. He's a billionaire," Mrs. Chen said. "Yes, Mrs. Alvarez said. And she sells sweets," Mrs. Chen said. "She makes sweets," Mrs. Alvarez said. "There's a difference." The boy, who was listening, as 10 or 11-year-olds do, with the specific focused attention of someone who is supposed to be doing something else, said, "She gave me a sweet every morning for 4 months." They looked at him. "Free," he said. "Every morning. She never said anything. She just gave it." Mrs. Alvarez looked at the table. At Sophia. At James. "Yes," she said, "exactly. He said it on a Friday morning. Not planned, or not in the way that James Whitfield planned things. With the specific preparation of someone who understood that significant conversations required correct timing. He said it because it was Friday, and the light was the particular morning light of a Friday in April, and she was giving Mrs. Alvarez a sweet and talking to her with the unhurried specific attention she gave to everyone. And he was standing at the table watching, and he understood, with the particular clarity of something that has been accumulating and has finally reached the point of being undeniable, that he had been coming to this corner every morning for 6 weeks, not for the sweets, Sophia, he said. She looked up. "I need to tell you something," he said. "Tell me," she said. "I have been," he said, "for 15 years, the specific kind of person who builds things, and who is good at building things, and who has understood building as the answer to most questions." "Yes," she said. "And then I drove past this corner," he said, "on a morning 4 months ago, and I saw someone smile at a person who had just laughed at them." She looked at him, and I couldn't stop seeing it, he said. "For months of driving past, and I couldn't stop seeing it." "Why?" she said. "Because," he said, "I have been building things for 15 years, and I have not once smiled at someone who laughed at me. I have dismissed them. I have outmaneuvered them. I have been correct about them." He held her gaze. "I have never once just smiled." She looked at her table. "It's easier," she said, "when you understand that the laughing says more about them than about you." "How did you understand that?" he said. "My grandmother," she said. She said, "The people who laugh at the table have never tasted what's on it. That's their loss, not yours." He looked at the table. He looked at her. "Sophia," he said. Single quotes, "Yes. I would like," he said, "to keep coming to this corner." "You can come," she said. "You don't need my permission." "I'm not asking for permission," he said. "I'm telling you why I'm coming." She looked at him. "Why?" she said. "Because," he said, "this corner is the only place I have been in 15 years where someone looks at me and sees the person rather than the company." She was quiet. "James," she said. "Yes, that's what my grandmother meant," she said, "about attention." "I know," he said. "I've been learning." She had a table, not a shop, not a stall, a table, on the corner of Merchant Street, Monday to Saturday, 6:45 in the morning. They laughed. She smiled at them, not because she was pretending, because she had decided, in the 2 hours between her aunt's words and leaving the flat, that she was not going to become smaller than the thing that happened to her. For months a car drove past. The man inside kept seeing her, not the table. Her. On a Tuesday in March he stopped. Here is what we learned. What you make outlasts what you lose. Her family took the flat. They could not take the recipe. The recipe was her grandmother. Her grandmother was love. Love is the one thing that cannot be removed by legal mechanism or cold efficiency or 2 hours notice. She smiled at the people who laughed. She gave sweets to the boy who looked and never asked. She sat on the wall with the elderly woman and left the table unattended. And the right person was paying attention. He always is. Keep making what you make. With your grandmother's recipe, with your mother's patience, with the specific care of someone making something for another person rather than for profit. The right person will stop. They always do. That is everything.